on the GroomPod. Welcome to our virtual salon. My name is Susie, and I'm your host. I'm a mobile groomer from Seattle, Washington, and anybody who knows me will tell you I love to talk, especially about my job. And one of my favorite people to talk to is my friend and mentor and the co-star of this show, the curator of ingredients, Miss Bbird.
Hey, Susie, good Sunday to you. What's up?
Good Sunday to you too, Barbara. Welcome to episode 450 of the GroomPod, recorded on June 15th, 2025 in Snohomish, Washington and Greenville, South Carolina. This podcast is brought to you by our kind sponsors, Best Shot, Show Season, Precision Sharp, Groomer, and Stasco. And if you guys want to support Barbara's experiments or you want to support the show, you can do so at our website, thegroompod.com, where you can also read the blog posts that Barbara is putting up. And you can click on the donation button there that goes straight to Barbara. And you can also join us on Patreon to support the show in a more extended fashion. This week on the GroomPod, we're talking about sharpening your communication tools. And Bbird is going to throw some shade on a shampoo. What's new this week is brought to you by Groomer Software. If you haven't found Groomer, you're missing out. Groomer is an all-in-one software solution for your grooming business. Whether you are a solo mobile groomer or manage several shops, Groomer has everything you need. 24-hour online booking and forms, routing, credit card processing, reminders, Google Calendar and QuickBooks integration, and so much more. And the best customer service anywhere. Shop, mobile, or house call, Groomer has you covered. And they're giving us a free month. Just enter GroomPod22 in the coupon code. Hey, Barbara, you know the internet is full of lists. There's lists for every possible roller coaster category out there. There's lists for everything. And hey, we made a list.
Whoa, wow.
We made a top 20 dog grooming podcast list on a site called FeedSpot. So they gave us the number 2 spot in all the and number 3 is Chrissy's Creating Great Grooming Dogs. So I thought that we would mention it because it's the first time we've officially been recognized by someone outside of the grooming community for what we do.
So what's the name of it?
It's called FeedSpot. FeedSpot.
FeedSpot.
Yeah, I think it's probably a podcast consolidator of some sort. But hey, we got noticed. Woohoo! Go GroomPod.
We like the attention.
Oh, we'll take it, by golly. So we also put up a video on the GroomPod's YouTube page, which is, I think, probably under my name, Susie Scott, but it might be under the GroomPod as well. I think you can search it either way. And it's like a 20-minute video with our on-the-spot field reporter, Dana Chavez-Ray, at the U.S. Pet Pro Classic trade show. She walks through the trade show just like I do when I'm at the trade show here and shows all the vendors and all the fun going on. So if you've ever been curious about that, you can go to our YouTube page and watch her. She does a great job, and we're going to hopefully put more videos with her from the trade shows up in the future. And there was a Facebook question on our discussion group that was about recirculating bathing systems. And deep into that discussion, there was yet another question from a lady.
A woman named...
You vamp for a second while I try to find her name.
Jade Bennett or something like that.
Jade Bennett. Very good, Barbara. Nice work. Yeah.
Hey, the old Beano is working today.
Yes, it is.
Yay.
Okay. So Jade said, real question, how do we know the surfactants capture all of the particles that would or could redeposit back on the dog? Instead of arguing, I'd like a real conversation with the facts. And our science slut, Bbird, gave her a really great response. So I'm going to read the response, and then Barbara might have some stuff she wants to add to it. But she composed this over a couple days of ruminating and thinking and composing this lovely post. So here we go. Barbara says, I know I'm a bit late to the conversation, but I'd like to respond to Jade's question. How do we know if the surfactants have captured all the excess sebum and stuff? I presume we are discussing the recirculating bath. This is a good question. There are three main reasons for there to be dirt, etc., left on the coat. Number one, an area was not thoroughly washed. This can happen if there is too hasty of an application. For example, the back of the hocks or the inside of the legs were not specifically washed. Any shampoo of any technique requires thorough application. The cleansing surfactants have to have contact in order to clean. That is up to the person bathing the dog. Sometimes the feet or under the tail need a little extra help getting clean. By help, I mean more agitation or scrubbing. Number two, the surfactant solution gets used up before the dog is clean. By used up, I mean there are no free surfactant molecules to attach and lift the dirt. This can happen on a very dirty dog. The dog is still dirty, but the water in the tub is not getting darker. All available surfactant molecules are occupied. Add a squirt of shampoo and voila, more surfactant soldiers ready to grab dirty stuff and form micelles to carry it down the drain. Number three, the shampoo surfactant cannot operate well in the dilution of the recirculating system. One of the great properties of sulfate surfactants is that they can be highly diluted and still clean. This is not always true for some of ultra-mild cleansers that are used in sulfate-free shampoos. An important exception is sodium olefin sulfonate, which operates much the same as sodium laureth sulfate. Others, with names like isothianate, glucoside, amodiacetate, just can't do the job when diluted in a recirculating system. The ultra-mild cleansing agents can't operate within the dilution rate of the recirculating system unless you use 2 to 5 times as much shampoo. For the most part, when an anionic surfactant molecule, which has a strong water-loving head and an equally strong water-hating tail, comes in contact with the dirty substrate, hair or skin, the water-hating tail, which is also oil-loving, is compelled to attach to the oily sebum and dirt. The molecule doesn't have a choice. It's sort of fleeing in the water. The tail attaches to the oily soil. There's a tongue twister.
It's oily.
The tail attaches to the oily soil, and then the strong water-loving head pulls it away from the substrate back into the solution. The molecule tails, with their little packages of dirty crap, then cluster together to further avoid the water forming micelles. This is called micelle packing. The center of the micelle contains no water, and the molecules stay happily locked together by their tails. They stay that way until they go down the drain. Oh my, the life of an anionic surfactant molecule. Please excuse my drama. I sometimes take liberties in order to make a point. No self-respecting, for real scientist would describe cleaning as above. I am, however, really hoping to help the reader get it as to how anionic cleansers work. And that's why you can call me Pet Grooming Science Slut. That is such a well-written explanation. It even goes really deep. If you're really curious, it gives you some information that you can then look further into. And Barbara, you're a great writer.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I'm not a great reader, but it's going to sound like I was a great reader because I'm going to fix all that. Post.
It was fun listening to it be read back, Susie. Thank you very much. I craft my responses, and I'm just trying to help our groomers understand the science of our products and tools. The big remaining question that's burning that I'm going to be looking into. Am I looking into how the bathing beauty or your recirculating system works and doesn't work is endless. And now I really want to address what happens to any bacteria that get caught up in the pump does that get washed into the dog's coat when you do the next bath or in the first bath of the day or however? What happens to bacteria? And I want to say that everybody freaks out when they open up their pump in the recirculating system and there's a lot of gooky gunk in there. My hypothesis is that that is mostly conditioner residue because some of the conditioner components are fairly waxy and they are going to kind of aggregate when there's no pressure for them to keep going through the machinery, right? So they're going to kind of aggregate and collect on themselves and make for yucky buildup within the mechanism of the sump pump. However, they're probably not nearly as toxic as it looks because we've got preservatives in our products that are going to be killing bacteria that are loose around there. And if there is bacteria that's like attaching itself to the mechanism of the pump, it's going to be attached so hardly the water is just going to flow over it because bacteria, when they multiply and form a community, it's a hard surface. It's like plaque on the teeth. What
Oh,
happens with plaque on the teeth? Well, it's hardened.
you can't get it off. It takes an effort.
Yeah. I don't really know for sure. I'm going to be looking into this a lot more because I so believe in the recirculating system. I think it is absolutely the state of the art. And I think it has way more positives than negatives. And the negatives is that it tends to collect gunk in the mechanism when it's not properly cleaned or over a period of time, or and more so if you're doing heavy de-shedding and using a heavy conditioner that's going to de-shed. We'll be back at you some more on this question next time around. Okay?
Okay, I think it's worth looking into. And an aside that I'll probably edit out. Couldn't we do a scrape and a growth petri dish somehow? Where do you get the stuff?
Back in Tucson, I had some test kits and I left them there because I left my whole chemistry lab there.
I might ask one of my doctor friends
I can find that. I can go back and
because
figure
I'd
out.
love to do a culture or whatever you call it.
Thank you. Okay. So you can ask your doctor, but let me too. I think some of the do it yourself places, websites have kits that you can buy
Okay,
and
cool. Well, let
to
me know and I'll
test.
buy it and swab my thing.
Yeah.
I think it
Okay.
would be fun.
We are going to actually attack the science of the question. Is there toxic bacteria accumulating in your recirculating pump that's going to then be washed onto the dog that you're grooming, that you're bathing? Okay, so I have a little what's new that I want to add today. I wanted to report back that I used my Botanica coat milk spray detangler type without silicone product, and I love it.
Oh,
And one of the reasons I love it, duh, is the great fragrance. So it really has a delightful kind of fruity, flowery intriguing sort of a smell, so much that I use it on myself because I like that. And it worked very well on my two Maltese coats, brushing them out after a bath that had waited too long to happen. So I can easily and comfortably say I really support that product. So get yourself some. If you're on the line about it,
I can't wait to smell it.
I give it a two thumbs up. It's good. It's good stuff.
Nice. Okay, now we'll take a break and be back with our first appointment, which is sharpening your communication tools. Let me tell you about Best Shot's newest addition to the Ultramax Pro line. Ultramax Hair Hold is a flexible hairspray that can be layered on for a stronger hold. Ultramax Hair Hold Spray is great, but my favorite new product is called the Max, and I won't groom without it. It's a fragrance-free ultra-concentrate conditioner and detangler. It reduces drying time and handles undercoat and tangles like magic. Just a few drops in the final rinse or spray it on and dry it in. Contact your favorite Best Shot distributor or learn more online at bestshotpet.com. Grooming success begins with Best Shot in your tub. Made from the best stuff on earth. Ready, groomers? Here comes our first appointment. I forgot to tell you, I got some of the Caribbean new Best Shot Sentiment shampoo. It smells like pineapple. I like it.
Yeah, well, that's pineapple. Isn't that Caribbean?
Yes, I think so. And it works just like any of the other sentiment shampoos. It's a solid performer, but it smells delightful. So I did want to mention that. I just got it last week. I'm looking forward to using it all week long and having a little Caribbean vacation right in my grooming trailer. So we use sharp tools all day long at our job, but how sharp are our communication tools? Communication is like the cornerstone of exceptional customer service. And for me, exceptional customer service, it has to happen because I don't have exceptional scissoring skills. So I need to make it up in other ways. And one of those is really good customer service. I think that it should be a regularly discussed thing, how to communicate with your clients if you go to grooming school. And I don't know that I've ever heard of a grooming school that talks about it. But I know somebody that has talked about it for years, and it's Barbara Bird, our co-host. Yeah, not only is she a science slut, but she's also a customer service expert because of her past. So today, let's go over some of the pitfalls we face and maybe give you some tools to help you out. How important is good communication?
Well, good communication is just the essence of good customer service, because if the customer feels that you haven't heard them, they're not going to listen to you. What my hairdresser told me that she learned in beauty school was that the customer is not going to listen to what you say until they think that you've heard them. Good listening is really a key element of good communication, but good communication is what can make or break your relationship with your customers. It can be the reason they come back to you again and again and again and become loyal to you, is because they're comfortable with the communication that the two of you have. It's vital. If you're not a good communicator, you should hire one and put them out at the front desk.
Oh, that is such a good advice, Barbara, really. That makes all the difference in the world, because when you walk in the door, the first person you encounter kind of sets the tone for the way you feel about the whole experience. And some of the things that we do in our daily work that can become a roadblock to good communication, well, one of them is making assumptions that the customer actually knows the same things we know, has the same knowledge base as we have, because most of them don't. And in your article, you use an example of the puppy cut, the dreaded puppy cut. What's a puppy cut to you? It could be completely different than what's a puppy cut to me, and we can be certain it's different from what a puppy cut to our customer is.
Right. I coming from a kind of show background. For me, a puppy cut is how puppies were shown in the show ring. So it can be a pretty fluffy kind of a puppy cut. But for some groomers, a puppy cut is like a seven blade all over. That's a puppy cut.
I know. It's for me, it's also a more fluffy look because when you want to have your puppy continue to look like a puppy, you leave it more fluffy. But it's important to actually have a dialogue with your customer to figure out what exactly is in their head because somebody has told them along the way that what you want is a puppy cut. But I'm pretty sure they didn't define what that meant between the two of them. So then your customer comes in as like, I want a puppy cut, and they've got an idea in their head. And it's important to ask some questions, but don't be overly assertive about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? You can stumble on this one because they will then, if they think that you don't know what a puppy cut is, you lose leverage for
Oh,
the
yes.
entire conversation. And you just sound like a nitwit. So it helps if you preface it with that the puppy cut can mean different things to different people. So what is it more precisely that you want?
Yeah, and it saves in the long run because you won't have that horrible shock when you come around the corner with the seven bladed dog and the lady's thinking you're going to have all kinds of hair on it. You want to make sure to get that out of the way. You want to do it without being pretentious, like without using fancy terms or imposing your teaching on people who are not receptive for the experience. Man, if you push yourself on somebody and they're not thinking you're an expert, it can be real, like bullying almost.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that.
You kind of need to check yourself. You need to see what they think you've said. You know,
Right. And invite them to be part of the plan. Because if you cut them out from the planning, that's an easy way to get them not to come back in your door.
that's right.
So, like when you're talking about scheduling, a lot of people are very militant about the scheduling, and I personally schedule people out like it to infinity on the same day of the week at the same time. And if they need to change it, I don't tell them they're scheduled out for the entire dog's life, but they are in my book, so I save that day for them. But I'm more than willing to adjust the expectations that I have and make it match the expectations that they have because that's a real key right there. So, times for pickup, that's a good negotiation spot. Also, the actual haircut can be a negotiation spot because sometimes they come in with a dog that they have an image or a picture of a beautifully sculpted Westie, and they have a dog that has pancake hair and a really long nose. And they'll hand you this picture and say, "Can you do this?" Well, I can't do that with that dog on my best day. And nature's already put a hand in there, and it's just never going to look quite like that. So the communication going back and forth, very important there as well, so that you don't end up with unhappy people.
Yeah, it reminds me of a time that the woman brought me in a Bichon mix that she didn't recognize as a Bichon mix. And this Bichon had poodle length ear leather.
Oh,
You know, from grooming Bichons, they have really small triangular ears up there. And that is what enables you to make that round head. And when the ears are long, you're stuck with a bell head. I mean, I had those ears just right to the leather, and it was still too long. And she, I just couldn't get what she wanted. And it was because of the dog's structure, the ear leather. And you don't want to say this isn't a purebred Bichon. You can't say that. You can say, well, we just have a little structural difficulty here. Uh, Find a way to laugh about it so that you can communicate that you have an actual inability to get to what they want. And sometimes it's because the dog doesn't have a good enough behavior to achieve the result that they want. And you got to get them to compromise.
I'm good with that conversation. That's one of my areas of expertise. I can really explain how difficult it is for the dog to accept that. I don't accept it in my own hair cutting. I can't sit still in the chair, so I completely sympathize with the dogs for that. And I can definitely talk them into a better haircut for that. One of the things that I don't care for is when I walk into a salon or when I walk into any service provider and I'm having a conversation with them and the words are coming out of their mouth and they're positive words, but their whole body language and the way they're approaching me and the way they stand and their eye contact and stuff like that is really off putting and says an entire different story than what the words are coming out. You've got to really be careful about that.
Right. Well, you have to check yourself. You need, in order to get really top level communication skills, you need to practice. You need to be self critical. So, like look at yourself objectively, like another person might. Check your body language. Are you nodding? It's a good thing while they're talking to nod your head a little bit to get that you're getting what they're saying, and then repeat back what they said. Okay, I hear you say that you want da da da. Just, oh, I hear you say is a phrase you can use to repeat back what you think you heard from them. And that gives them the opportunity to say, no, that's not what I meant.
And that's so
If you
important.
it Yeah, that's so important. You got to catch miscommunication in action, not later when it's too late and you messed up. I almost said the F-bomb.
Yeah, you're loud. Take the opportunity to ask questions so that you can get a really good idea of what they want because that helps with that. Well, with not making a mistake at the end of the day, for sure.
Yeah, but you can overdo that too. Because if you're asking like in inches on every part of the dog's body, that's just overwhelming to them. Sometimes I say, it sounds like we're on the same page. Can I just go ahead and do my thing and then we'll make any changes next time of anything I do that you would like to have changed? And most often, especially when I was past my 30s, my customers would offer to let me be the stylist.
I think that's a good approach because it involves them in the decision making and they're included. And they also know that whatever you do isn't permanent and that next time you can always make a change.
And don't let your little inner bitch voice come out of your mouth. Just keep it to yourself and thank them for the picture, the horrible diagram, the excruciating list that they bring you. Thank them for communicating any way possible. Appreciate their effort and they express that. Thank you for this. This gives me a good idea of what you want. Or I see that you've written that down, but I'm still not quite getting what you want.
One of your best gifts is positivity and humor. When you have to say, hey, I'm not quite getting what you want, you always put a really happy spin on it. That's an important tip, too.
Yeah, I always try to lighten things up. It is only dog grooming.
It's true. Occasionally, you get somebody who comes in and is very serious about getting their dog groomed. And that's the one with the big long list, and they've been told by so and so, and you don't want to do this and you need to do that. It's important to reflect back the seriousness of the dog grooming to this person on the other end, or they're not going to come back if that's not what they want. So don't go cracking jokes at a person who obviously has no sense of humor. That doesn't go over well. Read the room, get to know your people. But always match the tone of the person who's coming in.
Right.
Yeah, if they're in a hurry, kind of feel that out and let them go without big long discussions. If they're a person who wants to talk, in my case, I always give them a little extra time once you know that, because that's part of the, like I say, Susie the groomer experience. What do you mean by putting your mind on a leash?
Well,
Is that what you were just talking about a minute ago?
yeah, because when you're in communication with other people, your mind is going faster than your mouth. I'll tell you, my pet peeve is when people finish my sentence for me. And don't do that to your client. Let them complete their thought, even if it seems to be taking a while, and then go for clarification or not.
So you're saying listening. Listening is important.
Listening is probably more important than the actual words that come out of your mouth. Listening is the key thing, not pretending to listen, but you've got to shut up your inner voice or voices. Um,
Several.
the little puppy inside of your head that's saying, "Oh, you think that this dog can look like that dog, lady?" You just got to shut them up, shut up those voices, and speak what you would like to hear if you were in their shoes. And there again, being empathetic, being able to put yourself in your client's shoes. Here they are coming in to a new person, going to hand over their fur baby,
Yep.
baby, to a complete stranger
And then leave.
and then leave. And like sometimes you kind of tell they're kind of clinging to their dog.
Oh, yeah.
I would say now comes the time in our conversation where I have to pry the dog away from you and get on with the grooming. I mean, there again, I would laugh about it, but I would say, I understand how it is. I can understand if you have questions or uncertainties in handing over your pet to a total stranger. And I want to give you my assurance that I'll take good care and do the best I can to have your dog have a comfortable, happy experience here. And when they know that you're putting their dog ahead of anything else, that's what they want to know. Their impression of how you are with their animal is really sometimes way more important than whether you cut the tail right or not.
Thank goodness.
Although I did have a Westy person that left me because I made too sharp a point on the end of the carrot tail.
Oh.
But that was her problem. The thing is, with that customer, there was going to be a fail point somewhere along the line. That was the second appointment.
So you've got to be a problem solver, but you don't have to bend over for everybody.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
You don't have to bend over for everybody. You just have to lean a little and express your willingness to adjust yourself to their expectations and listen and repeat back what you think you've heard them say so they have a chance to correct you if you haven't heard it right. Keep your little puppy on a leash, your little mind puppies to yourself. They're barking at you, they're laughing at your customer, they're doing whatever. Just keep it to yourself. Warm,
Warm and friendly.
be loving towards their pet.
Ask for feedback. One of the things that I've always done is after I groom your pet for the very first time, the next day, after you've lived with the haircut for a night and the behavior of the dog or cat or whatever, I call and I say, hey, it's Susie the groomer. I'm just calling to see how Bella is after her grooming. Is everything good? Is there anything I should note on your card? And it opens a conversation for them, knowing that I'm there to check on the cat's health or the dog's health and the haircut. I only do it the first time, and I let them know I'm only doing it the first time. But everybody is surprised and encouraged by that little extra touch of calling and opening the dialogue, just in case there was something they didn't like. Because a month from now, or 6 weeks, or 3 months in Kat's case, perhaps, they may not remember what it was they didn't like about what you did or what they did like. And then you're going to repeat yourself. I know I will, because for the most part, when I do a haircut on an animal, unless they tell me to change it, I'm going to do the same thing. The last thing I want to bring up is a special phrase that you have given me, and I think it's one of those gifts, I've said it before, that you've given me, and it's the "what works for you" phrase. How important is that in the communication game?
Oh, that's been a blessing to me. I use it about the haircut. I use it about the scheduling. I use it about the pickup time. If you assign a pickup time and it doesn't work for them, and you don't give them the opportunity to say that that's a hardship, you're likely setting up a failure. So I just would say, either, does that work for you? I should have him done by 2:00. Does that work for you? Or you can say, what works for you in regards to picking him up? That gives them a chance to say, well, I have my kids I've got to pick up at 3:15, so it needs to be before 2:30 or after 3:30. They can set it up for them. And the fact that you ask what works for you just shows that you care for their experience in the grooming appointment. You know, it isn't all about the dog. You want to please the people too. You want to have a service that, quote, works for your clients. So I never was too rigorous about being a little late.
Yes. It's a back and forth.
It's a back and forth. Sometimes you give and you get given to, you know. You're forgiven and you forgive. That works best. I know some places, if you have a dog that just doesn't kennel very well, of course, it doesn't apply to mobile groomers who are at the homes and finish the dog and take it in. But in the shop situation where people have to come back and get their dogs, if you have a dog that you learn the first time the dog hates being crated, you want to communicate that to the owners and say, I am going to need to work it so that I call you 15 minutes before I'm done and you head on over to pick her up right away so that she doesn't suffer unnecessarily. Not all dogs are kennel trained, unfortunately.
That shows so much compassion and caring when you do that. It communicates more than just the fact that you're paying attention. It communicates that you really, truly care deeply about what you do for a living and about their pet and their experience in the shop.
Okay.
All good. We'll take a break and then we're going to come back and Barbara's going to be throwing some shade. The GroomPod and Precision Sharp would like to invite you to check out the newest precise cut shear called Lynx. Its patented design features a thumb ring that slides the length of the handle for perfect ergonomic placement of your thumb. Slide it, lock it into place, and get your best grooms on. Check it out at precisionsharp.com.
Show Season has a great enzymatic cleaner called Kennel Fresh. And you dilute it with warm water and it smells good. And then it evaporates to be a deodorant. As the kettle fresh dries, it's enzymatic, it eats the bacteria and the odor source. So it's really good stuff. You can use it indoors or out.
Find it at your local distributors or showseasongrooming.com.
Groomers, take your seats. It's time for Bbird's Classroom.
Occasionally, you have to review a product that you are not glowingly recommending. And it's possible that we might have something like that right now. So, Barbara, I'm going to pass this to you.
Thanks. I'll catch that pass. So I got a private message from a listener who was testing out or trying out a new shampoo that was from the country of Jordan. And it was a Dead Sea salt based shampoo that was for pets called Shampet. And I was a little hesitant at first to get into it because I had a problem years ago when Seuss products first came out. Seuss products came out, and the people who were selling the product had no idea what shampoos were really about. They had, in fact, I gave them one of my books, and they were sold a dealership, so to speak, as a business investment. And that can be real tricky. Same thing when retired people buy a grooming salon as a business investment and know nothing about grooming. It's hell.
I've seen it happen with a bagel shop. These guys came out of school. They had like the idea of what it would be to run a bagel shop, and they had the principles of business, and they just jumped into it without ever having baked
they
a
didn't
bagel.
know jack shit about bagels. So I think this is kind of a situation like that because this is a shampoo that comes from the area of the Dead Sea. So, of course, they're going to want to promote something with the benefits of Dead Sea. How much Dead Sea salt do you think you need in a shampoo that actually relaxes the dog, soothes skin problems, soothes joint problems? You would need to have a goodly proportion. And right away, I noticed that Dead Sea salts were used in the product, the marketing story or narrative. And in fact, the homepage looks like it could be a dog at the beach. So there's even a sense of water, body of water behind the dog, like maybe he's at the Dead Sea, and he's happy and looks like he's running right towards the camera like it has a treat in its mouth. The narrative for this product talks about removing stiffness and helping in turning on the joint repair genes. Joint repair genes? Is there
Oh, I'd like some of those genes.
I'd like some of those genes too. And then it goes on to say the high density of deep sea minerals creates a noticeable difference in buoyancy for soaking your pet with Shampet salts, allowing nutrients to seep into the skin and joints. Magnesium improves circulation and skin hydration while reducing inflammation, relieving pets' joint pains. Now, for one thing, that's very medicinal sounding. And I could see them getting in trouble for making these claims of reducing inflammation and relieving joint pain. So here's the deal. The person who purchased this distributorship as a business venture shared with my fangirl listener who asked me to tell her what was going on with this shampoo, shared with her that the percentage of deep sea salts was 0.05 grams of dead sea salt per 100 milliliters of shampoo.
What? Wow, that is not very much.
No,
I was thinking you weren't going to like it because it was from the Dead Sea and we're trying to protect that stuff, but that's not it at all. There isn't any in there.
yeah, they're not exactly decimating the Dead Sea, making this shampoo. I'm telling you,
Right.
here's what I did. I got AI to do some math with me, and I found out that a pinch of salt, I figured that there wasn't much difference in the weight of Dead Sea salt and table salt.
Right.
So a pinch of salt weighs 4 grams. And we've got here in 100 milliliters 5/100ths of a percent.
What is that? One kernel? One nugget of salt?
It's not even that.
Wow.
So it would take, I think I figured out that it would take several hundred milliliters of shampoo to get even one pinch of salt in there. So that's very discouraging.
And deceptive.
The marketing is nice. It's good graphics, reads well, has pet loving. It's nice marketing. The products are nice products, but they're not delivering what the product story is trying to sell us. What I did find is in the ingredients, all of the products, all of the shampoos include an ingredient called myristyl lactate. Myristyl lactate is a cosmetic ingredient that functions as an emollient and a skin conditioning agent. It has a softening and smoothing conditioning property on the hair and the skin, and it feels good. It has a feel good after feel on the skin and the hair.
I like that.
So it helps the experience of there being a nice change in it from the dirty to the clean dog, and the hair feels real good, and the skin is silky smooth. It smooths out roughness. It's a good ingredient, and it's fairly well up in the lineup of ingredients in the shampoos, maybe fifth.
So there's some volume in there.
It's not mentioned at all in any of the narrative. And here's another funny thing. This is another one of these common occurrence of having, quote, key ingredients. So the key ingredients noted here are chamomile flower extract, grapeseed oil, jojoba seed oil, argan kernel oil, Susie,
Oh, yes.
lavender flower oil, and sunflower seed oil. Those are key ingredients. They do not mention dead sea salts as a key ingredient.
Well,
What did you think?
they must think we're not going to notice it. That's weird.
Who edits? Who approves this material? How can you have a dead sea salt shampoo and dead sea salt not be a key ingredient? because it's way down at the end of the ingredient list. This is not a bad shampoo. The shampoo smells okay, works good, cleans, conditions, it does that, but it's not what it's purporting to be. And it makes me feel bad for the person that bought into this distributorship without knowing, without having any marketing savvy or any shampoo basic science,
Yeah.
and no contact, no connection to the pet world or the grooming world, the pet grooming world.
It's just it's unfortunate for them.
It's unfortunate for them that they don't have control of the marketing or anything. They just are hoping to reap a profit because the marketing's done for them and they just have to set up their website and they get all the material for their website is provided and it looks lovely and it reads well and there's pretty dog pictures on it. It ticks off everything.
How can you not make money?
Yeah, but see, it's basically inauthentic.
Right.
Now, a lot of people will buy this and not know,
Yeah.
but that is disappointing to me. I don't wish this person ill. I wish him well. And I hope, like Seuss found a way to market their product with less depending on the deep sea salt ingredients. They used to list in their ingredient list every single mineral component of the deep sea salt, which is multiple, and this man was educated on the attributes of several of the key minerals in deep sea salt, but it makes no difference because there's not enough there to do anything.
Yeah.
And here's another thing about deep sea salt: it's a salt, and when you have a plain ordinary sulfate shampoo, the main means of thickening it is using salt, which causes the surfactants to thicken the solution. And if you have too much salt, it goes the other way.
Oh.
And you have watery solution. There's a salt curve. And if you have too much salt, bam, you don't have any thickening.
They don't have to worry about that.
But it's a shame. So I hope they can kind of like find a way to market this to people unlike myself.
Yeah, maybe pet owners.
I just don't see it as a professional groomer product. What I wish, I was hoping that they would have something like, when we watch the Asian groomers in Asia, Japanese, Korean, Chinese groomers, they often you see them soaking the little dog in a tub of some kind of solution before it's made, and they're pouring it on them and pouring it on their heads, and the dog is just like going to sleep practically on its feet, and it's just so relaxing, and it's something. It's some kind of something. I was hoping Dead Sea. Oh, they're going to use Dead Sea. I like Dead Sea salt. I like minerals because a lot of our dogs are lacking in adequate minerals in their skin. It can be an underlying source of skin problems, or it predisposes the dog to skin problems. I'm grateful that they're not talking about that in their narrative, but they are almost talking about that when they say that this stuff is going to relax and reduce inflammation and relieve joint pain.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. They don't know it, but their shampoos contain colcamide DEA, which is on the California Proposition 65 that requires a company to state on its label that it has an ingredient that has been known to the state of California to cause cancer.
They don't have that on the label?
They don't have that on the label.
Uh-oh.
They don't know about that.
Ha!
And this man who bought this distributorship, he doesn't know that technically this product, it cannot be sold in the state of California. But they don't catch people very often. I mean, really, you have to be a kind of a bigger label, a bigger brand to get caught doing that. Or some accidentally, for some other reason, maybe having to do with Dead Sea salt, I don't know, come to their attention. But clearly, it hasn't totally been thought through how to sell this product with given the minuscule amount of Dead Sea salts. I am really sorry to break this news, but this is what I have to do.
Yep. Sometimes it puts you in an awkward situation.
Yeah, I don't like being the bearer of bad news.
No.
And hopefully, in spite of who am I? I might be a little big shot in the pet grooming business, but on the overall Pet Care USA, I'm nobody. And I'm not going to put this all up on every place I know of.
Just the internet.
I don't have time to. I wish them well, but I can't recommend it.
The moral of the story is when you're ready to get out of grooming and you're looking for your grandparent's side gig, do your research. Don't buy a bakery if you've never baked bread. Don't buy a shampoo line distributorship if you don't understand the product. Do your research. All right. On that happy note, sorry, we're going to say thank you very much. And Barbara, as always, it's a delight to spend Sunday morning with you. I can't imagine doing it any other way. I've got some dogs to groom, so I'm going to roll out of here. Remember to support our sponsors. Also, read all the great blog posts that are on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the communication book. So let me say, if you're interested in what I have to say about communication, I wrote a book, people. It's called It's Not Just the Grooming, Communication Skills for Pet Professionals. And I am selling it, a PDF downloadable version of this educational book for $15. So if you'd like to sharpen your communication skills, get in touch with me, give me your email, and I'll send you an invoice and we'll send you a book.
All right. Cool. Happy grooming, everyone. We'll see you next week on the GroomPod. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Take care of yourselves because we love you.